Alright, we're going to do a little unboxing video here. I don't normally do these, but this is kind of a special unboxing. Not your normal unboxing, I guess I would say. Alright, I don't know how many of you have been in crawling for a long time, but I have been off and on since about, I would say since about 2006 or so. I moved to the Quad Cities in 2008, and it kind of didn't really progress much until within the past 5 years or so when scaling really took off, because that's kind of what I was really into. I started out with an AX10 back when they first came out and ready to run for them, and then I kind of took that and I put a Chevy C10 body for like a 8th scale monster truck on it. It was actually, I think it was intended for the T-Max, I think, or something like, or no, it was for the Savage. One of those bigger 8th scale gas trucks, but it was a huge body, but it fit the AX10 pretty good. But because the AX10 was a side frame chassis, it wasn't a ladder frame chassis like the SCX10s, it didn't quite work out that well. But anyway, so after that, when I moved here in 2008, I think it was probably the summer of 2009 is when this came out, and I bought one as a kit in kit form. I think that was the only way you could get them. And shortly after that, the SCX10 came out, and I believe I got one of those, and then I sold this because it wasn't really what I was into. But recently, I've just been kind of wishing I still had it because it's so unique, I guess you would say. For some reason they didn't take off very well. I don't know why. It's probably because they didn't take very well to modifications, as you'll see here in a minute. But this is what we got. This is a Venom Creeper. It's basically an AX10, except it has a little different setup. It was kind of innovative for its time. It's a side plate chassis type, but it had 4-link as opposed to the 3-link that the AX10 was. It actually has 4 links rather than a Y link in the top. But as you can see here, this is the front axle. Axle mounted servo, just like all the others of the time. And then on the back, it was set up right out of the box for rear steer. It already has the knuckles and everything. And I think that might be one of the reasons why, that's one of the reasons why it didn't take off, is because there was no solid rear axle. It was the only way you could get it. There might have been upgrades at the time to convert this to a solid straight axle with lockouts, but as far as I know, the only way you could do it was by putting these lockouts on here. So it has CVDs in there in the rear axle. It's got a complete front axle on it minus the servo, and then it's just got these bars that lock down the steering or the axle in a straight line. But the biggest thing that was very innovative on these, and yes, they beat Traxxas to it, was this right here. This right here is a locking differential. It had little tiny servos that you could mount up here with a little cable system, and this here, if you open that up, right now it's in the lockdown position. If you take that screw out, you could put a locking system on there to lock and unlock the diffs, both front and rear. So that was kind of innovative at the time. But like I say, the way that these are set up on the front axle, you can see it's got the top mounted battery up here, and there isn't really anywhere to mount a battery down low unless you was to put like a plate system up here and mount it up on this, but then you would lose all your suspension travel. So I think that's one of the reasons why it never really took off, is because you can't really modify. I mean, you can run it the way it is, but it's probably not going to do very good because it's got all that weight up top. And this was back in the days before lipos really took off. So you're talking about putting a 6 cell NiCad battery up on top of there. And that's a lot of weight up on top. So they didn't do very. If I remember correctly, they didn't do very well on the rocks, especially at vertical climbs. But the suspension setup is velvet smooth on these, and it's when I had mine, when I built mine, I locked the front axle permanently. I put the lockout in there, and then I put the remote lock on the rear, and it did really good because you could unlock the rear and have it open diff, and then you make really tight turns, and if you got into sticky situations going uphill, it would help you out, just like you would do today with a TRX4. You'd unlock the rear axle, and it helps a lot. But that's it. That's the Venom Creeper. I plan on probably taking this apart slightly, checking the diffs. I mean, it's all original. It's got all the original links. It's got the original drive shafts. The only thing that's not original is the ESC. It's got a quick run on it, but and it looks like it's got a RC four-wheel drive 55 turn in it. I don't know, but it's still got the original line tires that Venom made at the time, and it's still got the original beadlock wheels. They're plastic with aluminum rings, but it's got the color coordinated rings. But like I say, everything else is original. It's missing the bar that goes across the top. It's in here somewhere, but I don't see it. Looks like it's got a couple other little pieces in here. Oh, it looks like it must have broke a skid plate at one point or another. But I'm going to probably see if I can find some parts on eBay and basically restore this to an original condition. Obviously I'm not going to put the original speed control back in it because I don't even know if they make one. But I'll run that speed controller, clean it up a little bit, put a Spectrum receiver in it so I can run mine. And it's got a massive transmission in there. It's kind of a weird setup as far as the motor. The motor you actually mount. The motor mounts onto the back side of the transmission. But in order to get at the screws, you have to pull this plug out, this rubber plug, and then you reach through there to get your screws. So anyway, I've rambled on long enough. You can watch for videos of this coming up soon. See ya.